إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. You have worked very hard for several months, and now I'm talking to the younger brothers in the listening to the khutbah. The younger brothers who are in school, you worked really hard for months to give your examination, and guess what? Your parents had promised you that if you got a special grade or you got certain marks above a particular mark in your examinations, then you will receive a special gift that you like a lot. An Xbox, maybe a PS4 or an iPad, something very attractive to you, something that you always wish to own. So imagine you're working so hard for months and then you did your examination and you got that special grade that was required, put as a condition from your parents, from your baba or your abu. And when the time came and the results came, you got that grade and he brought you this beautiful gift that you always wanted and you waited for months, because it's very expensive. It costs thousands of dirhams. It's not a cheap gift. And you worked really hard for it. You paid attention in your classroom. You made notes. You took, you paid attention to everything your teacher was teaching. You came back. You studied hard in the textbooks. You made exercise in your exercise book. And you stayed awake late. Normally you would sleep early, but you stayed awake late for your examination so you can get that grade. And you worked hard for it. And eventually you did it. But after you receive your gift, this special, beautiful gift, after a few days of using it, your mother came to you, because the father is hardly ever in the house, right? Most of the times it's the mother who's in the house. And your mother came to you and asked you to give away this gift, whether it was an iPad or an iPhone or it was the Xbox or a PlayStation. The mother asked you to give away this gift or sell it off or give it away to somebody, meaning you cannot have it anymore. Imagine if that happened to you. What would you do if your father got you the gift, you started enjoying it, and then your mother comes and tells you, you cannot keep it anymore. It's not allowed for you to play it anymore or have this gift anymore. What would you do if you were in this situation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, and what has this got to do with the Qur'an? The Xbox. What has it got to do with the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهداك تعملون. And we have enjoined on man, on human beings, whether it's a man or a woman, and we have enjoined on the human race to be good and dutiful to his parents. To be good and dutiful, to obey the parents, to obey the father and to obey the mother. This is something that Allah has enjoined upon all human beings. So when your mother comes and tells you to give it away, not just keep it away for a few hours or for a few days and you can play it on the weekend. No! She comes and tells you, give it away. Or you cannot have it anymore. What would you do when Allah, the Creator, is telling you in the Qur'an that He enjoined upon you that you should be good and dutiful to your parents? And in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, has decreed that you do not worship anyone except Him. That you worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the greatest. This is the reason why we are born, why we were created. And Allah is reminding you of that. And then immediately after that ayah He says, and that you be dutiful to your parents. إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Have ihsan towards your parents. Ihsan is a very great word. When somebody acquires ihsan, he becomes a muhsin. When somebody acquires Islam, he becomes a Muslim. When somebody acquires a high degree of iman, he becomes a mu'min. And ihsan is greater than a greater status of a person acquiring iman. When he acquires ihsan, and Allah is saying, she came to complain to me about her sister. And bless her and give her Jannah to Firdaus and her sister. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said, He reminded us that you should worship only Him. And immediately after that He said, to have ihsan towards your parents. To have that high status and high acceptance of them and being dutiful to them and being in complete obedience to them. But Allah Azza wa Jal went on to say something else after this ayah, which I'll explain to you later. But in this case, if you are obedient to Allah, and you are a believer of Allah, and you believe in somebody who created you, you will go back to Him. He gave you life, and He will take away this life one day. And may Allah give us the best of ends. So then, you must be dutiful to your parents. Let me give you an incident in the time of Rasulullah. And now I will address to the older people. I have already addressed the children, because there are quite a few children in the masjid, mashallah. May Allah make them the imam of this dunya. And now let me address you, the elderly people, the teenagers, the young shabab, and the elderly brothers and sisters in Islam. Once a man came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I recently got married. My mother, I got married, I have a wife at home, and my mother is asking me to divorce her. To divorce her, to give her talaq, to send her back. Finish off your relationship. Imagine, I'm talking to one of you shabab now. You were waiting for this day. You had all the preparations, and you had all the ceremonies. May Allah protect us from these ceremonies and these bid'ahs that people do. Apart from the walima, there is no other ceremony in Islam. So all these hassles, going and selecting a wife for you, and you happen to like her, you happen to, you get pleased, and then after you marry this lady, this sister, this woman, this Muslimah, So this man came complaining to Rasulullah, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, my mother is asking me to divorce my wife. And this is no mother from our times, my brothers. This is a mother who is a sahabiya of Rasulullah, who is a companion, the one who is amongst the people of people who were watching and seeing what he come down to Rasulullah live. She was amongst those people, those sahaba and sahabiya. It's not the ones who understood each and every ayah of the Qur'an, and they did not go to another verse of the Qur'an till they understood that ayah and they practiced that ayah upon themselves. This was the manhaj, this was the way of the sahaba and sahabiya. And this was the mother who was a sahabiya who told the sahabi to go and divorce the wife that he had recently married. And he comes and he tells the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Ya Rasulullah, my mother is asking me to divorce my wife. What should I do? What did Rasulullah sallallahu tell him? What did he tell him? He said, Inna Allah, verily the rida of Allah, the pleasure of Allah. Inna Allah fi rida al-walid, wa sakhat Allah fi sakhat al-walid. Verily, the pleasure of Allah is in the pleasure of your parents. Allah is pleased with you when your mother or your father is pleased with you. And the sakhat Allah, the anger or the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fi sakhat al-walid, is in the displeasure and the anger of your parents, your mother or your father. Subhanallah. Meaning, you should obey your mother. This is the mother who understands what is better for you. This is the mother who bore you from childhood. Before you were born, you were 9 months in her womb. And she was carrying you everywhere with all the difficulties. And she always took care of you and nourished you, even in her stomach, in her womb. And even when you were born and you couldn't even move your eyelid. Some of us, we couldn't even open our eyelids. And she would clean us and she would pamper us. This is the mother who understands, who raised you. And you became strong enough only because of getting nourishment from our body first. And then by how she took care of you. And she understands. And she is no other mother, but she is a mother who is a Sahaba, who understands the deed of this person. And the Sahaba and the Sahabiya, they did not do or say anything except it was for the pleasure of Allah. This was the manhaj of the Sahaba and the Sahabiya, the companions of Rasulullah. Except if it gained, they didn't speak anything unless it gained the pleasure of Allah. And they did not admonish or forbid or abandon something unless it was displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If anything, if they admonished, it was because it was displeasing or it would be harmful for you or for them. And this is why the Sahabiya, she advised her son to divorce, because this daughter-in-law, this wife would not be helping him towards attaining Jannah, towards attaining the success in this life and in the hereafter. And she would become a barrier. This is the case when Ibrahim a.s. came and saw Ismail a.s. And when he came, he saw that he was married to some woman, and before leaving he said, change your doorstep, meaning leave your wife, divorce your wife. And Ismail a.s. he obeyed him. And this was the case when Umar radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, had recently got married, and he really loved his wife. He really liked her. But Umar radiallahu anhu ordered Abdullah ibn Umar to divorce his wife. And Abdullah ibn Umar, went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said such and such. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, so verily divorce her. If Umar is saying, then you must divorce her. And you need, because the rida, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the pleasure of Allah is in the pleasure of your walidain, your walid, your parent. And this is why when our parents, to my little brothers and sisters, if our parents, they know that there's something is good for you or something is bad for you, they will order you accordingly. And they will forbid something to you accordingly. But let me come back to the point when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا لَيْسَ وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِهِ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. But if they order you to make shirk with Allah, but if your parents, they order you to make shirk with Allah, or they order you to do something disobedient to Allah, or displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you are not eligible, or it's not incumbent upon you to obey them. And this is the case that we have sometimes, some of the mothers and fathers nowadays. It's not like the example that I can give you an example from the hadith, in which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said there are three kinds of people. And some of these people, they will pray. There are some kind of people who will pray, but their salah but their ibadah will not reach below their throats. Meaning it will not come into their hearts. It is just going to be rituals. It will be rituals that they were following and prostrating and getting up and getting down, some kind of exercise. Some kind of a yoga. Some people, they will pray, but it will not reach their hearts. It will not reach and affect their bodies and their limbs, their actions. And one of these people is the imam who leads the prayer. But the people, they hate him and he hates the people. It's not the kind of imam who, and why do the people, they hate him? Not the kind of imam who is actually ordering to implement the sunnah or implement the Qur'an. And because of that, the people are hating him. Let's say, for example, there is an imam who admonishes people. When he sees them doing something wrong, he comes and corrects them in a nice way. When he's straightening the road, he makes sure he looks left and right, he looks everywhere. He goes and he checks the gaps between people, and he orders them to come together. He orders them to stand straight, and so on. And if people hate this kind of imam, who is upon the Qur'an and who is implementing the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ, then it is actually these people who are in fasad. It's not this kind of an imam that Rasulullah ﷺ is mentioning. It's the imam, if he was doing some fisk or fujur, he's talking something in the minbar, he's doing something immediately outside the masjid. He's being hateful to the people. He's being vile. He's being, rude. Or he's disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. He's not implementing the sunnah. He's ordering them to do something wrong, taking them away from the Quran and sunnah. So if this person, he does such a thing, is what this hadith is applicable. It's the person who reads the Quran, who recites the Quran during his salah, but he doesn't understand anything from the Quran. And the second example is of that woman whose husband is angry with her. Allah Azza wa Jal, it will not, the salah will not affect her. It is used this for her to pray. But it's not that kind of a woman who actually, the husband who is angry with her because she's wearing hijab. This person is in trouble there. Allah protect us from this. But it's the woman who says, you know, if a husband is saying to do something good and she's doing something different, something opposite, or if the husband, or she's displeasing the husband for no reason whatsoever, he comes in the house. So this kind of a woman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if her husband is angry, her salah is not of any use. So what has this got to do with our example of obedience with parents? This means that if the parents, there are some kind of parents who don't want their sons to, you know, keep a beard. What's wrong with you? You're looking like a chimpanzee. A'udhu billah. And I'm telling you, this happens. People give such examples. They do. I have heard it in my own ears. I'm not making this up or being harsh on some people. So if this kind of a parent and this kind of a person who's asking, the mother is asking to divorce the wife because she's not helping in the kitchen, or they don't get along because she doesn't, you know, make the bread the way she wants her to make the bread, or her rice is not, you know, these kind of trivial, silly, and they're not getting along for these kind of matters. So you're going to have to go and obey. In this case, you're going to have to really, you know, get into obedience of your mother or father. As far as long as you know that your wife is a righteous woman, and she's praying 5 times a day, and she's trying to fulfill her duties towards you and your parents, then you don't have to. And this is what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, when they ask you to do evil, or when they ask you to commit shirk with them, you don't have to. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in a bigger and a broader manner. However, this applies to many things in our lives. However, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in another hadith, when a young man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he came to say that he wants to make the ultimate sacrifice, and he wants to join the army of the Muslims, and he wants to go along, you know, for jihad, and give away his life perhaps for Islam, or he wants to go out perhaps for studies, for gaining the knowledge of the deen. This is another kind of jihad. And he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said he wants to go for jihad. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked him if both of his parents or one of the parents were alive. And he was a young man. So obviously the parents were not very old, but you know, they were somebody who was dependent on him. And he said, yes, Rasulullah, I have my parents in my house, or he said, my mother in my house. He said, go back to your mother, and this is your jihad. Go back and take care of your mother, and this is your jihad. And in another hadith, Rasulullah is reported to have said that the Jannah is under the feet of your mother. Jannah is under the feet of your mother. So go back and take care of your mother. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Qur'an, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Worship Allah and join none with Him in worship, and do good to the parents. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. And we have enjoined on man to be dutiful and do good to his parents. His mother bore him in weakness and hardship, and upon weakness and hardship, and his weaning into it. And Allah goes on to say, and He reminds that how a human being, a man or a woman, is supposed to be obedient to their parents. Obedient to their parents, especially the mother. Because the status of the mother is higher than the status of the father when it comes to the obedience and when it comes to the attention that you need to give from amongst your parents. Because once a man came to Rasulullah and he asked Rasulullah, who amongst the people, Ya Rasulullah, not Allah and His Messenger, because Allah and His Messenger take precedence over everybody else. If ﷺ, he said, your mother. And he asked, who after that, Ya Rasulullah? He said, your mother, the second time. Who after the first person is the mother, and the second person is the mother. And the third time he asked, who after her, O Muhammad Rasulullah? He said, your mother. And then the fourth time he said, who after her? Because he was not satisfied completely. First time, second time, the first person, second one, the third one is the mother. So he wants to know who else in the society. Perhaps he's waiting for Rasulullah. We shouldn't be saying that. But if it was one amongst us, we are waiting for him to say your wife. If it was amongst us, we would probably, some amongst us would be, or your children. We're waiting, maybe he will mention the children now. Maybe he'll mention, Qur'an. But he said, your mother, your mother, your mother. And then he mentioned who's next. The fourth person was the father, your father. A lot of people, they know the hadith only till here. And who was after the father? I think nobody knows this. Maybe a few people, inshallah, know. He said after the father, he asked who next? He said the sister, your own sister. So all my brothers who have sisters, after the obedience, after your attention towards your parents, you should know that your sisters deserve the most attention, not your wives. And of course they have their rights too. But they deserve the most attention, not according to me, but according to Rasulullah. And then the fifth person he said was your brother. Your brother. After the sister, then your brother. So in both the cases, a woman has taken precedence over a man. When Muhammad ﷺ, he said, 3 times your mother. So this is how we should be. If we are, for example, when the father comes in the house, we are more respectful and we are scared of him, or we become attentive. Imagine how you should be with your mother. This is something that we never reflect upon. If you become attentive when your father comes in the house, how should you be with your mothers? Because Rasulullah is saying 3 times, the 3 people on top of your father is your mother. So you should be 3 times more attentive, 3 times more respectful, 3 times more obedient to your mother than your father. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. There are so many ahadith and so many narrations that I can mention from the time of Rasulullah and the examples of the Sahaba. However, because the khutbah is supposed to be short, we don't have much time during the khutbah, I will mention a couple of more ayahs and ahadith, and inshallah let you reflect over it. Go back and work on it, and as a homework, go and find the rest of the ayahs related to your parents. Why? Because they are the most important people for you after Allah and His Messenger. They are the most important people for you in this whole universe, my brothers. In this whole universe. They're more important to you than your studies at school. They're more important to you than your bosses in your offices and your companies and your organizations. They're more important to you than the work that you do and the money that you earn. They're more important to you than the properties that you own, the car, or the money that you have in your bank or in your pocket. Once a man came complaining to Rasulullah saying that my father is pinching, is taking away money from whatever I earn, he comes and he takes it from me. Prophet ﷺ, he did not take the side of the father, of this child. from him. He said, you and your money, everything belongs to your father. You and everything that you own belongs to your father. So don't come and complain to me. Rather just go back and give whatever he wants. The Prophet ﷺ, he also mentioned, my brothers and sisters, and let us remember this after we get out of this masjid. Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-Walidu awsatu abwab al-Jannah, that your parents, Al-Walidu awsatu abwab al-Jannah, they are amongst the best doors of paradise. They are amongst the best entrances. Way, your entrance towards paradise. They are the best door to paradise. And he went on to say, فَحَافِظْ عَلَى وَالِدَيْكَ. So be attentive and take care and be protective of your parents. They are the best doors to paradise. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is why He says in the Qur'an that وَصَاحِبُهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ ثُمَّ إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. If they strove against you and they made jihad against you, and what does jihad mean over here? That they are struggling hard to make life difficult on you. They're struggling hard to make life difficult on you. All this, they're making like some people will say, what are you doing, Baba? Or what are you doing, Mama? Or just leave me alone. Or get out of here. A'udhu billah. This is not something a word that a Muslim can utter or even it can cross his mind towards his parents. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even if they make jihad against you, even if they strive against you, but if they strive against you to make shirk with Allah, then you don't obey them. Then you don't obey them. But if they strive against you, do not even say, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And if they إِمَّا وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Do not, even if they strive against you, don't even say the word uff towards them. Forget about telling them to get out of your face, or you get out of the room, or I don't want to talk to you, or you don't ever call me again, or you are such and such, or you are old, you don't understand, or you don't know better. I go to school, I have learned so much so, and I have earned this degree and that education, and my parents, you think that your parents, they don't know nothing. And then you mistreat them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, this is the same mother, and this is the same father. You are actually from a drop that came out from the body of your father. This is what you are. A drop of water that came from the body of your from the body of the father. And you are the same person who was inside the womb of this mother, and she was carrying you with difficulty, vomiting sometimes, feeling sick, not sleeping for days, and you were playing boxing inside her stomach, kicking her, playing football. And she was taking all this pain and suffering for you. And when you became strong, when she nourished you, you started saying ill words towards her. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, even if they made jihad with you, my brothers, this is not a small word. It's not something that you get upset with your parents for a little thing or a small thing or something they said or how they behaved and you became upset and you said something. Just keep quiet. Just shut your mouth, zip it like they say. upset with your parents, just keep quiet. Don't say a word. Say A'udhu Billah. And say something better, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And say something kareem, or some few words. May Allah have mercy on you, my mother. May Allah have mercy on you, my father. May Allah keep us obedient to you, my mother or my father. Say something kareem, say something which is pleasing to them and pleasing to you. And their anger will subside. Even when Allah goes on to say, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And go on to say, and say not to them a word of disrespect, nor shout at them, but address them in terms of honor, and lower unto them the wing of submission and humility. Even when they are being rude with you, even if they're striving against you, lower the wing of humility. Lower and be submissive, be obedient, become soft towards them. Just like you would get soft towards somebody from outside, somebody at your work. If he said somebody who is your boss, for example, he would say something to you, or your teacher, you will shiver or you will stay quiet. You will swallow all your anger. And you will stay quiet. But no, you don't do this in front of your mother and your father. Why? Because you disrespect them. Because you haven't fulfilled your obligation and you haven't fulfilled your rights towards your parents. So even if they shout at you or scream at you or make jihad against you, don't shout back at them. Don't say bad words. Don't even say uff, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. And in Arabic, the word uff is the the smallest word of disrespect, of rejection. Somebody who says uff in Arabic language, it's like alif and fa, that's it. And it's a very small gesture of disrespect. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't even say that. Rather, lower your wing of submission and humility and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Oh my Lord, bestow on them your mercy as they did bring me up and when I was young. Bestow, oh my Lord, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا. Oh Ya Rabbi, have mercy on them and bestow your mercy upon them, just like they had mercy on me when I was young. And they raised me up when I was young. And they took care of me when I was young. So let us go back today, my brothers, and make a change into the most important, into the most important unit of a society, of the Ummah. And perhaps there are a lot of problems that you are facing in your life is because you upset your mother, but you never thought about it. Maybe she was angry and she said, or she wished for something bad. And this is something all the parents, they should avoid cursing or giving bad. Even a husband should avoid cursing the wife or giving, making bad du'as for her. And the parents should avoid for the children, and the children should avoid for the parents. Because the prayers and the du'as of the parent is never rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why maybe there are some problems that you're going through your life. Whether it's financially or whether it is with your health. Because there is another hadith which relates being good to your kin, your parents, your relatives, related to the earnings, the wealth, related to your life, the number of years. Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that somebody who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases a person in wealth when he's good to his relatives, when he's good to his next in kin. He increases, and he increases even their life, the number of years. Allah Azza wa Jal. So maybe, my brothers and sisters, we haven't paid attention towards our parents. And we have taken care and paid attention to small little trivial things. sadaqah and charity, or helping some neighbor, or helping some other people in need, or being good to your colleagues, but you are not taking extra care with your own parents, and because of that maybe that you are in trouble and you have some difficulties. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the understanding of this deed, this beautiful deed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to implement the ayahs of the Qur'an and to fulfill our obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the understanding of the deen and to fulfill our obligation towards our parents. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our parents in their life. May Allah Azza wa Jal give Jannatul Firdaus to the parents of those people who are not in this world anymore. To all those Muslim brothers and sisters, may Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to implement the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam so that we can become closer and we can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by pleasing our parents. May Allah accept our efforts and may Allah forgive our mistakes. May Allah forgive all the sins that we committed knowingly and all the sins and all the mistakes that we made with ourselves, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with our parents. May Allah Azza wa Jal forgive because He is Ghafur Rahim and He is At-Tawwab Rahim. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. عباد الله يرحمكم الله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. وأقيموا الصلاة.